The voice that doubts you is not the truth. Reframing inner criticism. Good morning. I want to start today by asking you something, and I'd like you to answer honestly just to yourself. When was the last time you said something to yourself that you would never say to someone you love? Maybe it was this morning, before you even got out of bed. A thought slipped in before the day had barely begun. You're falling behind. You're not doing enough. Why can't you get it together? We all have a voice like this. Some days it whispers. Other days, it's all we can hear. Today, I want to talk about that voice, where it comes from, what it's really doing, and most importantly, why you should stop mistaking it for the truth. Meet your inner critic. Everyone on earth has an inner critic. A voice that judges, compares, warns, and worries. It tells you that you said the wrong thing in that meeting, that you're not as far along as you should be, that other people have it more together, that you're somehow behind in a race no one officially signed you up for. Here's the first thing I want you to know. That voice isn't you. It feels like you. It uses your voice, your memories, and your specific insecurities. It knows exactly which words will land hardest. But it is not the whole of you, nor is it a reliable narrator of your life. Psychologists sometimes call it the inner critic. Others call it the ego's defense system. Some people give it a name, a small, frightened part of the mind that developed long ago to protect you by keeping you small, careful, and invisible. It learned somewhere from a parent, a teacher, or a painful experience that it was safer to criticize itself before the world could do it to it. That was a form of survival once, but it may no longer be serving you. Because the critic doesn't know the difference between a genuine threat and a new opportunity, it can't tell the difference between danger and growth. To it, they feel the same, and it will warn you away from both. What the critic says versus what is true. Let's look at this more closely. The inner critic tends to speak in absolutes. Not, that didn't go as well as I hoped, but I always mess things up. Not, I'm finding this difficult, but I'm not cut out for this. Not, I made a mistake, but I am a mistake. Do you hear the difference? One describes an event, while the other declares an identity. The critic takes a moment and turns it into a verdict. It stumbles and calls it a character flaw. It takes a single chapter and claims it's the whole story. But a moment is not a verdict. A stumble is not a flaw. And one chapter, no matter how hard, is never the whole story. What has my inner critic been telling me lately? Is it describing a moment or declaring an identity? You don't have to argue with the critic. You don't have to fight it or shame it into silence. Simply noticing the difference between a description and a verdict is a profound act of self-awareness. Once you see the critic clearly, once you recognize its voice as one among many, not the final word, its power begins, quietly, to soften, becoming a witness to yourself. There is a practice I find genuinely useful, and it's simpler than it seems. When the critical voice arises, try just for a moment to step back from it, not to push it away, but to observe it, as you might watch a cloud pass across the sky. There's that voice again, the one that says, I'm not enough. That small act of naming it, of creating a little distance between you and the thought, changes something. You are no longer inside the thought. You are watching it. From that position, you can ask a different kind of question. Not, is this criticism true? Because the critic will always say, yes. But, is this thought helping me? Is it moving me toward the life I want, or away from it? Often, the critic believes it's helping. It thinks it's keeping you humble, safe, and from making a fool of yourself. But humility born of self-attack is not the same as genuine groundedness. Real humility comes from knowing both your limits and your worth, and holding both with honesty. There is a voice inside you that is wiser than the critic, steadier. It doesn't shout. It rarely leads with fear. it tends to speak gently and to speak the truth. That voice says, "You are doing your best. You are learning. You are allowed to take up space. You are more than your worst moments and your loudest fears." What would the wiser, kinder voice within me say right now? Carrying this into your day. As you step into your morning, here is what I hope you carry with you. The voice that doubts you is not the truth. It is a habit, an old story, a pattern that formed as you tried to protect yourself from a world that sometimes felt unkind. You can thank it for trying. Then you can choose, gently and deliberately, not to let it lead. You are not the sum of your self-criticism. You are not the verdict the critic has delivered. You are far more complex, far more capable, and far more worthy of compassion, including from yourself. Today, when the critic speaks, and it may try to meet it not with a fight, but with a quiet knowing, I hear you, and I choose to look at this differently. Morning affirmation. I am not my self-doubt. I am the one who notices it and chooses again and again to be kind to myself. Today's intention. Today, when you notice the inner critic speaking, pause for just one moment. Name what you hear. Then ask yourself, is this a description or a verdict? If it's a verdict, gently remind yourself that that is not mine to accept.